All right, welcome back to another episode. Using my DJ voice on this week's episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Resilient Real Estate Agent. Today we are talking all about, you guessed it, resiliency. Yeah, yeah, I know. Shocker, shocker. But we're going to talk about it a little bit different today. It's easy to be resilient when everything is going the way you want. It's easy to be resilient when you're beating the other team by 50 points and you get to jack up half court shots and it's a good time and everybody's laughing and having a great time. It's hard to be resilient when you're down by 50 points and they're jacking up 50, half court shots and laughing at you, right? So, you know, and the reality is we have less control over what's happening outside of us than we do control over what's happening inside of us. And so if we're going to talk about resiliency and creating resiliency in our life, it's really important, it's really relevant that we talk about our internal state. What is actually happening inside of us and how do we manipulate our internal state to create more resiliency, to be able to battle burnout, to be able to stay balanced. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how to create resiliency in three main facets of our life. You may have heard of these before: your mind, your body, and your soul. And so that's what today is focused on. How do we create resiliency in those three facets? And so with that, Allison, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you kind of kick things off here. This is, for those of you that don't know Allison's background, she's a psychotherapist who specializes in, oh, come on, the mind-body connection. Come on.
Somatic
Somatic.
experiencing. Yes,
Yes, yes.
yes,
I knew
yes.
that, by the way. But yeah, somatic. And so she deals in this stuff a lot, right? And so, without her, I probably would have quit real estate a long time ago, or I would have ran and hid in a cave somewhere or something, or just completely broken. So I'm very grateful for everything that you've done for me in my life and in our, for my business. And so I'm excited for you to share some of your strategies around these things.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're talking about today is energy, and we're talking about internal energy. So, have you ever like walked into a room and you feel you haven't even spoken to anybody and you can kind of feel like an energy, or you walk into a room and you actually feel maybe like an energy within you? And so I want to talk about energy, and sometimes I think people get into this space where it can be like mystical or complicated. And really, I want to make it more practical here today in this conversation, because whether we realize it or not, literally everything that we are experiencing is a direct reflection of our internal state. And so basically our internal state, how we experience the world is, let me reframe that. Basically, our internal state shapes our experience of almost everything. So our relationships, our work, our focus, how we're feeling within our bodies is all a direct reflection of this. And so, the good news is that it can bring us we can work to get connected to this internal state, and that could bring us into a place of resiliency. The
Mhm.
bad news is that it can also bring us into a state of feeling really overwhelmed or feeling anxiety, scattered, all the things, disconnected. Um, yeah. So, I mean, have
I mean,
you? Yeah.
the,
Go
the
ahead.
reality is like, I say this all the time. Our mindset isn't a thing, it is the only thing. Our mindset determines how we see the world, how we interpret the world, how we feel about the world. It's everything. It's our filter. And
Exactly.
without our mind, is there reality? Is there consciousness? You know what I mean? And so mindset isn't a thing, it is everything. And so that's really what we're talking about is like, how do we sharpen our mindset to become more resilient? And, the reality is like, first of all, I just want to say this is not a perfect system. Nothing we share here today is the answer. You're going to hear us say this on probably every podcast. It's just some answer, some solution, some things that have worked for us. And the reality is, no one of these things has ever fixed the whole problem for me personally, and it never will. It's a
It's
work
just a
in
tool.
progress. It's another tool, right? And you implement it and it works for a little while, and then you need a new tool, and that's life. That's how these things come together. And so, all of that being said, I'm working through this stuff right now. I mean, uh, when there's not enough money coming in, I have to be resilient to withstand the kind of the drought. And then when there's a bunch of work coming in, and people watching this, you're in real estate, what's our business look like? It's just like it comes in these giant waves. And so it's just kind of like drought and monsoon. And you have to be resilient in different ways during all of these types of phases in your business. And right now, I feel like we're kind of coming out of the monsoon and kind of going into a phase that's maybe a little less busy on the business sense, and we finally finished our move and all these other things that we had going on personally, and I'm having to adjust my mindset and go inward because my outward world right now is not producing what I want it to produce to create resiliency for me.
And
It's
so
not
you feel
making
dysregulated.
it's not easy for me right now, right? And so I've got to go inward to figure this out. And so part of what we're going to do today as well is I'll be sharing some of my actual inner dialogue and things that I am currently working on to build resiliency within myself right now.
Yeah. Well, and so with the dysregulation, maybe we should break that down a little bit. Like, what does that look like? Like, stress, not sleeping well. What is it for you, Dan?
Well, yeah, and I think it could be lots of things for lots of people. For me, when I get into extreme scenarios and I feel like we've been in an extreme scenario over the last like 8 to 9 months.
Let's give an example. We moved.
So we so we went to Italy for 6 weeks last summer, which was amazing. It was really great to get away, and it kind of opened our eyes to some changes we needed to make in our life. So we came back from a 6 week trip in Italy and immediately started getting our house ready for market to sell and move because we knew we weren't in the right neighborhood. And so we immediately started doing that. That was a huge pain in the butt. Then we put our house on the market and we sold and we had to buy another house and we moved everything and then we moved out of the house that we just bought for a month and renovated this house that we just bought, and now we're just starting to move back in, all while
Not to
selling real
mention,
estate, running a team. We have two kids who are in sports, on and on and on. Like, I know there's people listening to that going, "Yep, yeah, I get it. Yeah." And so it's been 8 or 9 months of just fight or flight, just get it
barrage,
done, right?
fight or flight, exactly.
Yeah. And so the feeling that I get in those moments is it's a lot of adrenaline. I can feel the tingling. I can feel the adrenaline running through my body all day long. And then when I finally have time to like sit down and like be quiet, like this week I've had a little bit of time to kind of deregulate or re-regulate or whatever, and
Re-regulate.
it feels so awkward to be quiet and not have things going on that then I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. So now I've got to have that conversation with myself, right? And so it feels like pressure. It can feel like panic. It can feel like um, chest like pressure. It can feel like a sickness. Like I just don't feel good. I don't feel right. Unrested. It's not a pleasant place to be. And it's okay for us to be in that place for a period of time, but it's not supposed to be an extended period of time. So how can we regulate that over an extended period of time? That's kind of what we're trying to break down here.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really great point, especially with talking about resiliency, because a lot of times people feel like resiliency means that we just gotta push forward and just pummel through, and
It is a form.
it is a form.
It's an
It really
option.
is. Because that can be going through the grind, can be something with resiliency that's like it's important to do. And so I think going back to this idea of energy and really becoming aware of where where it's like an internal temperature. It's like, where's my energy right now, and do I need to take a break because I'm having tingles and almost having a near breakdown? Both of us have been in this spot. I've been experiencing the same kind of experiences, the tingles and just feeling like I'm on complete edge.
Yeah.
And so when you talked about fight or flight, and so when we are in that state of fight or flight, how can we get ourselves back to a place of re-regulation? And
I mean,
so
that's the question,
that's the
right?
question. And there's a lot of different techniques and things that we can do to get ourselves back into a place of resiliency, which will create more longevity, for us to take bigger strides for where we're going. And so that brings me to all the different techniques. And Dan,
Well,
do you want to start in on this, or do you want me
well,
to?
yeah. So, well, before we jump into it, I think, you mentioned this earlier, and maybe you were going to talk about this, but the first phase of changing something in our life, especially internally, always, always starts with awareness. We have to bring like real awareness to the problem. I don't feel right. I don't like this. I don't want to be this way. Like, how can I fix this? How can I? That's the crux,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Listen to your body. Listen to
Yes.
what is going on within yourself. Your body is communicating something to you. If you are uncomfortable and things like that, it's trying to communicate something. So bring awareness to that first, so then you can identify what you need to change.
Exactly. And to add a layer to that, it's for me, and I'll speak from my perspective. I have at times pushed that away, like the awareness, like I'm feeling really tired, but I'm just going to keep going. Or like I'm judging myself, like I judge myself about how I shouldn't be feeling this way because we're a go-getter society and you better pull up your bootstraps and keep going. And
Yeah.
so I think it's important to pair the awareness with a non-judgmental attitude, which can be difficult sometimes for
Yeah.
people, but it's a practice. And then when we can get to that place where it's like, all right, open and curious about why and where I'm feeling in my body, now what do I do with it?
Yeah. And the thing that I'll do to just kind of tee you up here is sometimes it's grind time is necessary, especially in real estate. If you picked this business so you could work a 9 to 5, I'm sorry, you picked the wrong industry. It's just not going to happen, right? You're going to have floods of business, you're going to have droughts of business, you're going to work on Friday night and Saturday night sometimes, and all those kinds of things. And so sometimes you have to grind. Sometimes grind time is just what needs to happen, and that's okay. But where I'm at right now is I'm like, okay, great. So I'm going to grind, but then I've got to come back into this state of kind of more mellowness, right? You've got to balance the grind with like something else that's equally on the opposite side of the spectrum to create balance, right? And so that's kind of where, I'll tee you up. So great. I've been grinding forever. I'm tired of it. Even when I'm not busy, I feel uneasy. I feel stressed. I don't know what to do about it. I can't calm down. I'm always looking for something to do, right? Like, okay, great. Let's start there.
Yeah, yeah. So when we okay, so let's talk about the nervous system for a second, because that's where fight and flight really starts. That's where it gets activated, right? Is with the nervous system. And when we're dysregulated, the nervous system is feeling anxious. We feel scattered. And when the nervous system is regulated and feels safe, that's when we feel more grounded. That's when we feel more connected. That's when we can take a deep breath and slow down. And so practices, and that's why simple practices are so important. I mean, this is kind of what this is where, like, what's the word that I'm trying to think of, micro this is where micro habits come into play, and you can just take little tiny sips of micro habits of micro habit practices. So that might be like it might look like this, where this I'm going to give you three, like a step of awareness and then a practice. So it might look like, wow, I'm feeling really anxious right now, like, and and so I am going to step away from what I'm doing and I'm going to just close my eyes if I have the ability to. And I'm just going to feel the breath as I breathe in, like filling my lungs with air and taking a nice big breath out of my mouth. So breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. And as simple as that might be, the breath is connected to the nervous system and it regulates us and it allows us to bring down that quote unquote temperature that I was talking about earlier to just bring us down a little bit. And you know, like Dan said, these kinds of things might not always work. It may not be the perfect answer. So there's lots of different techniques. There's yoga, there's stretching. I mean, we
Well,
could talk about
well,
sleep and all the things.
right. So we're talking about the body here, right? If we're
Yeah.
breaking this down into the
For,
mind, body, and spirit, we're talking about the
yes.
body right now, regulating the nervous system. And so I kind of there's degrees of it as I experience it. So right now I typically have a puzzle going, and that's kind of my the puzzle time is where I just kind of decompress, you know, and um, and sometimes I can feel that anxiety come up and I try to breathe through it and it's just not enough. Like sometimes it's just not enough. Like we're so elevated that just breathing through it helps a little bit, but not enough. It's a band-aid on a bullet hole wound, right? So that gets my mind thinking, okay, what else do I need to be doing to start regulating myself better? And so I get into things like sleep. So to yesterday, I do power naps like once a month and I'll do a 20-minute nap. Yesterday, I slept for an hour nap. Today, 45 minutes nap. That's really rare for me, but I recognize that my body needs sleep and I'm trying to take care of my body to re regulate myself. That's a bigger step, right? Another one is diet, right? Allison has been talking to me about doing a liver cleanse. And so we've got a big barbecue coming up this weekend. And after this barbecue, we're doing a big cleanse. Why? Because I need to regulate my body. I need to get the right foods into my body. I need to be feeling good. When I eat, I need to feel energized, not like, ugh. So these are all things that we can do to impact our body, and they're kind of on a scale. It's like breathing, tapping, yoga, stretching, up to getting enough sleep, to diet. And we're never going to give you diet advice because each person's different, but eating a good diet that feeds your body, and on
Or
and on.
sometimes you have to go see somebody. Like
Right.
for me, I was having physical pain in my hips and I was having physical tingling because I was so stressed out over everything that we've been doing. So I got a massage. I've gone to a chiropractor. I went to go get some cranial sacral work and it's working. It's helping because my nervous system was so wound up that the breathing techniques weren't working. So getting enough rest was difficult also. Sometimes we
Right.
can't sleep.
Right.
So
Well,
it's very multifaceted. This isn't just a one direct linear kind of thing.
yeah, I wish we could like get through all of it, right?
Oh
But
my
we're
gosh,
just
so much.
this is a very wide, not deep conversation,
Totally.
and as we go through this podcast, we can try to address these issues in more depth. Like we can do one just on health, we can do one or on eating healthy, one just on stretching and those kinds of routines, right? So we can. It's a cool thing. It's our podcast. We can do what we want. Um, so so there are all of these different aspects of it that we really need to pay attention to. And one thing that I will say, you're talking about the cranial work or whatever you were calling it. It's so important. My masseuse unfortunately made a mistake, and we missed our last appointment, and I didn't reschedule one in between like I normally would do because I was so busy, and that was a mistake. Like I go every other week to the chiropractor, every other week to the massage therapist, and if I don't see those people on a regular basis, my body tells me. And it's really important for resiliency to take care of your body It's your only vehicle, and it's like, well, I'll take care of my body when I'm dead. Or like, when are you going to take care of your body? You got to take care of your body now. You got to put the right fuel into it. You got to get rest. You got to, protect your mind. You got to try to regulate your nervous system. You got to stretch. You got to work out. You got to do these things to protect your vessel because that's where everything begins and ends. And if your vessel's not doing well, it makes it really hard to get the mind and the soul on board because your body is just so tanked.
Absolutely. So we talked about body. Let's go into the mind and the soul.
Which one?
Let's go mind.
All right. What do you got for us, Allison? How do we fix this whole thing going on up here?
That's a good question. I mean, it really is so multifaceted. And again, it's not just one thing, but mindfulness, meditation, those are two huge helpers in being able to
What is
regulate the thoughts.
mindfulness?
Good question. So, mindfulness can really just be about actually having awareness around ourselves. Like that can be mindful. Like I'm having a mindful moment where I'm just checking in with myself. Mindfulness can be about, well, really, I think it has a lot to do with presence, becoming more present, slowing down, and just taking seconds to even like chew your food? Are you driving in the car while you're talking on the phone and you're eating your sandwich and like you didn't even taste it and then it's gone and then you were like, oh shoot, I didn't even taste my sandwich. So being more mindful can allow us to slow down. But with the mind, I think also our thoughts, like really becoming aware of how we're talking to each other, or talking to ourselves,
Right.
and our
Catching
language.
ourselves in those negative thought loops and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the stories that we have.
Reframing.
Exactly, reframing. That's a huge one. And I mean, that could be a podcast in itself,
Yeah.
which we will cover some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, and I think, it's really interesting with the mind because there's kind of two things to it. You know, um, there's kind of the becoming aware of and controlling the mind, which is the reframing and those kinds of things. And then there's the other part of the spectrum, which is shut the brain up, get rid of the monkey mind. And that's where like meditation and stuff like that comes in, and being able to ground. And anybody watching this, raise your hand, write yes, me in the comments, like something that you know what I'm talking about. But man, there are times when I'm just so busy, it is nearly impossible for me to get a good meditation in, no matter how hard I try, because my brain is just like, "Brah." But it's the practice of trying to get into that zone and kind of getting better at it over time that makes it a little bit easier. And it's
So
it's
what does that do for
necessary.
you? What is meditating do for you, Dan? Because every morning, for those of you, all of you that don't know, because you don't live here with me and Dan, Dan has a morning routine, and I will take the kids to school, and I will come back, and then he will be on the couch with his headphones, and he's meditating. And so, what does that do for you? How does that create resilience for you?
Well, if I don't do it, well, if I don't do it, I lose intentionality in my life. And so if we flip that on its head, I do it because it gives me intentionality. So it reconnects me to what I value and what I want to do maybe that day, but where I'm headed, it new ideas pop into my mind which rejuvenate me and give me energy like, oh yeah, that's really cool, I can go work on this new project, or I think of a new chapter for the book that I'm writing, or so that inspiration can come, and that's really energizing for me. But it also just grounds me. And once again, my brain is on hyperdrive just all the time, right? Just go, 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 go. If I don't have that time to calm it down, then it gets stuck in overdrive. And then my creativity goes away and all those kinds of things. And so slowing it down opens up the pathways to like be more intentional with my life.
Yeah, and that's so good to let people know, like that there's by we are such a hyper driven culture. Like it's 10x all the way. Like that's like if you are a real in real estate, you're on the go all the time. And so important to remember that it is part of the recipe for being able to have resiliency and to be successful is to open ourselves to that creative void where when we're meditating where we can just it's nothing and then
Yeah.
something actually appears for you, which is that creative spark. It gives you intention, it helps you point you in the right direction to where you want to
Right.
go. I mean, that's so powerful.
It, it's
And
it's it's not just powerful; it's required.
it's
You know,
required.
I would break without having those breaks. It's like playing a basketball game and never getting to come out of the game and rest.
And
The
how
the the, the
often
meditation is the rest.
Absolutely. And how often do we give ourselves permission? I mean, you and I too. Like, even though you do that,
Not enough.
not enough. How often do we give ourselves permission to actually slow down, take the naps, get the
Right.
sleep, do all the things? It feels counterproductive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so when we talk about mind, like that's the other thing is like, with our mind, this is where we figure out how to change things. So, I'm sitting there I'm looking at my life right now and I'm like, okay, I'm coming off of a giant spike. Now I need to figure out how to get down into, I'm just going to call it a trough, right? The opposing force to this wave. And and I have to become very intentional about how to do that. So the conversations that I'm having with myself and with Allison and the things that I'm trying to figure out is how do I utilize this time where I'm not as crazy to actually regulate myself. And that's where having a clean mind and a fresh mind can be very, very helpful. And that's where things like meditation and once again, diet, it's an organ, right? If we're not feeding it properly, it's all jacked up. So diet is really important once again with our mind and the self-talk. I've been trying to figure out what do I tell myself when I start to get all worked up? And I just came up with a new little phrase today that will stick for a little while. I don't know how long it'll last, but right now it resonates with me and it's going to help. And that is, I'm doing enough because I'm having a hard time regulating myself because I feel like I should be always on. And when
And
I'm
there
not on, I feel like I've got 4 feet. I mean, it's just, and no arms. It's just like so awkward and like out of my body. And I'm like, I've got to remind myself, I have to take my mind and retrain it and say, you're doing enough. Calm the F down. You're doing enough. Relax.
and there's the reframe. There's the
Right.
reframe, folks.
Exactly. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
I'm working on it right now as we speak. All right, so let's just recoup where we've come so far. So we're talking about creating resiliency by going inward, essentially. We talked about the mind. We talked about being able to regulate the mind through things like meditation, through proper diet, reframing the self talk that we have if it's not beneficial to us. And we'll do a whole episode on reframing because it is a very, very powerful tool if it's used properly. And then we talked about the body. So we talked about making sure you're getting enough sleep. We talked about eating healthy. We talked about stretching or yoga or, hiring people to make sure our body is functioning properly, a good doctor, a massage therapist, a chiropractor, cranial massage thing that Allison did.
Sacral, cranial sacral.
Yes, that one.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
one. Yeah, you
Yeah.
heard it here first, folks. All right. So, all right, so let's move on to the soul.
Okay.
This one's a little more slippery, right? Like, how do we take care of the soul? What is the soul? Ooh, getting deep. All right, so what do we
Well,
do here?
people who are spiritual or religious might go to church, might find God, might pray. For me, being in nature is my
Mm,
spirituality. It's my way to connect with my soul. I also I feel that meditating for me is a way to connect to my soul. So it's I'm not only clearing my mind, but I'm also connecting to my spirituality, we'll call it for
Yeah.
simplicity.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's touch on nature for sure. When you talked about religion and you talked about people going to church and praying and those kinds of things, a couple things. By the way, when I meditate, that's my form of prayer. That's how I connect to my source.
Yes.
So that can also tie into that. But what I hear when I hear church and things like that is a form of something that really helps improve soul. The C word. No, not that one. Community. Community.
I love that. It's
Community is
true.
so important when we talk
Community.
about rejuvenating our soul, man. Like you got to be
Absolutely.
surrounded by good people. It just makes life so much easier. It makes us so much more resilient when we feel like we're part of a tribe.
Absolutely. And, we can do it alone, but it can be very lonely.
Yeah.
So we as human beings do better when we're together. And so community is absolutely huge, and that can be very soul filling. Think about
Mhm.
if you ever are if you go to if you have a good family and you feel comfortable with your family and you go and you hang out with them, man, that's soul filling, right?
All
Or
right.
your friends, going and hanging out with friends can be really soul filling. Like for me, sometimes I'm driving in the car and I'm like, I check in with myself. I check in with that internal energy, and I'm like, do I need do I need to listen to a podcast? Do I need to like check in with myself and just drive silently, or do I want to like call a friend or call my mom or call you even and just kind of check in, because being able to connect with another person fills my cup
Hmm.
up a little bit in a soulful
Yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah. So if we're talking about resiliency, like how do we build more resiliency? I think the saying is, you can go. What is it? You can go far alone or fast alone, but you go further together.
Yes.
So I've done the lone wolf thing and I've done the team community group thing, and I can tell you right now, taking on the level of stress that I have right now and having no community, there's no freaking way. I would be absolutely miserable.
What
You
is
know,
it? What
like
does it do? What does the community do for you on a resilient level in terms of your soul?
so number one, it gives me hope that I can do this thing, right? Because
Ooh,
I don't feel
hope.
like I'm alone, and when we're together, there's just more possibilities, because now you're working as a collective. That's part of it. The other part of it is just today, we were on a call and, we're trying to grow our team. Rialto Partners, check us out. We're looking for good people to come and join our organization and our team. That's what we're trying to do, or part of what we're trying to do. And so I was on a call with a mentor of mine, and he was sharing his story of kind of overcoming difficult times in his life and really what that looked like and felt like. And he really took me back to that moment. And I could see myself in that moment. And without him sharing that story with me, it wouldn't have shifted my energy. It wouldn't have shifted my perspective. It wouldn't have reminded me of things that I already know. I just wasn't thinking about them. And so community can bring reflection to us. It can bring new ideas to us. It can bring connection, which makes us feel like we're part of something. Like people can wrap their arms around us when we're hurting, and people can lift us up when we're succeeding, and they can bring us down too. Like if we have the wrong community, they can pull us right down into the muck with them. So it's really important that we pick the right community. But if you are surrounded by good people who are trying to make each other better, if you're going at it alone, I am talking to you directly. There is a better way. If it's not our community, go find a community that resonates with you so that you can do this journey with somebody that will pick you up. And because it's really hard to do life on our own. Community it's built into our DNA.
Absolutely. And throw us a comment about that below. Tell us, do you have community? How does community inspire you? Because I think sometimes we forget that community is actually really soul filling.
Hmm.
I don't normally think about the word community and think of my soul, but it really has a huge impact on our energy,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about our soul, I think a lot of times people relate it to religion. And of course, there is that aspect of it. I think our soul is kind of that intangible piece of ourselves that's connected to something bigger than ourselves, which is why it's so slippery, right? And hard to define. But really, I think you can break our soul down almost to like our beingness and just kind of our presence and our energy that we put out into the world. And, when we work on that, our presentness, right? We work on our connection with a greater power through prayer, or we work on building a better community. Um, we have a different presence. We have a different energy. Like coming full circle back to what you started this conversation with. I think you mentioned this on the call. It wasn't before, but when you walk into a room and somebody has an energy, that's their presence, right? That's their soul speaking.
Exactly.
It's an energy, it's a presence that comes out. We've all felt that. We know exactly what I'm talking about, no matter what you want to call it. And so when we talk about being resilient, if we can make our soul strong by having a strong community, by having a connection to a higher power, or whatever else it is that gives us that presence of like groundedness and confidence, it's it's powerful.
It is powerful. And I think we should circle back to nature because we didn't really cover that
Oh
and you
yeah,
wanted to talk
yeah,
about nature. And I mean, think about skiing.
yeah,
If anyone skis out there, I guarantee that there's some kind of connection that you all feel when you go skiing.
yeah.
I
You're
feel it.
standing in the trees and it's snowing a little bit and it's totally quiet.
Yeah. Or think about the beach, right? Like the waves. You know, there are actually electromagnetic. I could be getting this wrong, but there is some kind of energy that comes off of the waves that calms our entire nervous system.
Hmm.
That's so
Or
amazing.
going into the woods. I mean, I know not everybody gets behind this, but I hunt and sitting in the trees in absolute silence for days on end, not seeing anything. There is something about that. One of my friends refers to it as tree bathing.
Oh, I love that.
you know, like
The
you're
tree
just
hugger that tree bathes.
yeah, exactly. You're just out there tree bathing, and
I
it
love
it
that.
cleanses your soul.
Yeah,
It's once again, I think it's a part of just who we are naturally. Our body is linked to this earth, and when we go experience the earth, we kind of feel that connection maybe to the greater power. I don't know.
absolutely. So let's say for those of you that are not able to go to the beach or the mountains or sit in a forest, even if you're in, I don't know, New York, downtown Denver, uh, finding just a little square of grass
Mm,
and taking off your shoes and walking in the grass does the same thing as standing near a waterfall or standing near the ocean. And I know I said electromagnetic, and I know that that's incorrect. I apologize for not having the correct term.
there's
But it's oh, I know what it is. It's the ions. It's the negative ions. When we have a lot of stress, we actually have positive ions, and when we can rub our feet in the grass, or we can go near water, even running water, like taking a shower. Why do we feel so good when we go to the pool or the hot tub, or right? It's because we are getting we're getting the negative ions.
electrons.
Yes, electrons. I am so sorry I'm botching this, but I do have a real point. And that is that connecting to nature and for real, like people, not everybody has access to going to all of those, right?
Yeah.
That's not, it's not always, people cannot always access those luxuries. So literally going to a little park and putting your feet in the grass is going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, once again, I mean, there's so many topics here that we could do whole shows on, and I've actually written some of them down. We'll come back to some of these and hit them again. But So, we've kind of talked about, once again, we're talking about resiliency, specifically for real estate agents, by real estate agents. And if we want to be resilient in this industry, I really believe that we have to take care of these three aspects of our life: our mind, our body, and our soul. And these are just some of the ideas to do it. And I just want to circle back to this concept that it's an imperfect process. And like I said, I've got this new thing that's going on in my brain that I need to reprogram. I'm doing enough. That's going to work for a while. And then it's going to be a different issue that I've got to fix. And so it's a constant um, change of trying to figure this stuff out. So let's just hit a couple of them. So eat right, get lots of sleep, take the nap if you need it,
Meditate.
meditate, body work, get people to help you with body work, stretching, working out, um, connect with a higher power, build your community intentionally, get
Go
surrounded by,
outside.
go outside. Oh, another one, get the sun in your face first thing in the morning. And now I'm forgetting the guy that talks about that. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. He's a doctor. Anyway, he tells you go outside, get the sun directly into your eyes, and that's the trigger that turns your brain on. It tells your brain, hey, it's time to wake up, and it works. It gives you lots of energy. Drinking a glass of water in the morning, first thing, gives you a lot of energy. So there's all these little things that you can do to rejuvenate yourself. And guys, I got to tell you, Allison and I are coming out. I already told you what we're coming out of. It's been exceptionally difficult, and I can't imagine us going through this 10 years ago before we had all these tools. It would have been 10x harder. And now, as we get better at implementing these tools, we become more resilient. We can actually take more on and feel less stress, so we can take more on, and so it kind of feels like the same kind of stress, but we're accomplishing so much more. That's what resiliency looks like. Let's give it another 10 years. What's it look like then? Like, what tools do we have 10 years from now? And what are we going to be able to withstand at that point as we begin to really perfect some of these things? And so that's what's possible for you. Like, if you're in that just place of like, God, grinding, and it's just, you're thinking about giving up, you can develop resiliency.
And I will say also, because we went wide, just pick one. Like
Yeah.
we talked about a lot. So just try out one or two and see. And if it doesn't work, then try another and just keep going. Micro habits.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we would like to, summarize here. We always want to ask you guys, please subscribe, put a comment down in the bottom. Was there something that resonated with you? What's the one thing that you took away from this that maybe you can implement to help develop resiliency in your own life and in your own business? And please like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 10,000 this year, so we would love it if you'd be part of that journey with us. Any final words from you, Allison?
I would say that if you want to become more internally aware of your energy, I believe that it like I said, like we talked about, it's all about awareness. So if there's one thing that you walk away from today, it's and you feel overwhelmed about life and you're maybe overwhelmed about all the different things that we talked about, just start with awareness.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think I already said my final words, but really the summary of that is that it's a practice, and we never arrive. We never gain like, yay, I have resiliency. I'm done. Like, no, it's just you just get better and better and better at it over time. So get curious.
So true. That's such a good piece of advice.
Yeah, just keep moving forward, keep trying. And if you want to connect on this on any level, you want to connect with us just to talk. Maybe you're trying to build your community and you want to chat. Great, reach out to us. We would love to connect with you. You want to talk real estate? You want to talk about what it looks like to be on our team? Reach out to us. We would love to talk to you about that. We want to connect with more people who resonate with this kind of vibe. So we appreciate you for watching. Thanks for being here for the Resilient Real Estate Agent. We will see you on the next time.
Bye.